We just thought we'd get everyone to come see, so.
Yes. Just got a question about enforcement on East Seward Street, specifically, I think, the brick.
Yeah, I mean,
portion.
the break portion, any anecdotal or insight you have with accidents or anything related to the speed bump, I mean, just anything you wanna.
Really nothing since the speed bump was added. We, prior to the speed bump, we did some of our own selective enforcement. Nothing really stood out as far as the issues. But again, it could be that the problem times that the residents were having were times that we couldn't necessarily dedicate a lot of time to that area because of the priorities we have, especially with school travel. As far as accidents, I don't.
Well, they didn't appear that they
Certainly
were
nothing
on that
that stands
street,
out.
that the numbers indicated they were more up by the Columbia and the highway is what it looked like.
Trying to get off the line.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it looked like the ones that were on Evergreen dealt with deer.
yes.
Mostly.
That was an interesting anecdote as well. Okay, thanks.
And that's it. Thank you. We notice for the council's purpose, the item on the agenda just is consideration. So, you're welcome to continue discussion, ask questions, or if you have, want to make a motion, there's not a directive as to which motion to make, so you have to, whoever makes the motion first, essentially. And then there's some opportunity for discussion after the motion if it's been seconded.
I have one question, for Mayor Gray, as the city administration. It was mentioned, John Hughes mentioned this as an issue for some time coming. What was the issue that he mentioned about the street? Was it just, we needed a speed bump, or was it the width and flow of traffic on how narrow the street is?
I'm not sure what he was referencing. I made the comment before that the development of this new subdivision had been discussed for 12 years. And when I first became mayor, that was what John Hughes had told me would be the next subdivision, and that we needed to plan for utilities and plan for annexation in the future. But I don't recall ever having conversations about specifically speed bumps or stop signs or even altering the road itself in any way. So I don't know what that's referring to. It only took 12 years to start that project. So at this point, you're welcome to continue discussion, ask questions if you like, otherwise we entertain a motion.
I'd say I'm still in the camp of, as we were the last time this came around, was that, I mean, this is a designated collector street designed for travel and ease of travel for residents between neighborhoods, or whether it's be expediency or however it sees fit, but that is the purpose of a collector road. And in my experience in any of the discussions that we had before, to put a speed bump on the collector road does not make any sense. As we've seen, we've had people come out for it, which was led to the discussion a year ago. Now at the same time, we've got 3 times as many people saying we don't want it. How do we go around this? And I guess to me it just comes down to, how do we want to set this as policy as a council? Do we seriously want to have this issue come up time and time again, potentially, by saying we can go through and designate a speed bump here? We have people speeding down North Columbia. If somebody brings us and says, do we want a speed bump on North Columbia, would we do something like that? If not, why not? Because I think it's out of kind of the purview on what type of policy we want to set on road design. So based on the hierarchy of it, the purpose of it, let alone the fact that I think there is an underlying issue in the width of it, especially as a collector street that needs to be addressed sooner than later. I'm still in the side of not having that speed bump there, so I would make a motion to remove the speed bump.
Okay. We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it. Once we had this discussion initially, that was my concern, was setting a precedent and having to show up all over town. And when can you say no? I mean, it was looks bad when you're telling one area of town that has a high rate of kids crossing the street to go to schools to say, no, you can't have one. You know, maybe it's by the high school, maybe, you know, it's by the elementary, maybe it's by, probably not the middle school, but somewhere in that area. If we go about it that way, it just doesn't set a very good precedent.
You have a motion and a second, so any additional discussion is appropriate this time. More further discussion?
I do have a question about has there been any specific problems with the speed bump? Has it been knocked out? Have we had maintenance on it?
It did get scraped off during the last snowplow.
Not the last snowplow.
No.
We figured it out after the first time we did it, so.
And part of that's just communication, because when we do clear, by we, I mean royal we, I'm not driving the truck, but when we plow the streets, sometimes it's all hands on deck, and so you don't always just have street employees doing it, and occasionally, we didn't communicate to everyone, and so it happened to be someone who wasn't, in the street department, I believe, that caught it and scraped it, so it was kind of dangerous there for a little bit until we could get it fixed, because I think you had pieces laying around, and there may have been some bolts, but we acted as quickly as we could to at least alleviate the danger and then put it back, as well, so yeah, but that's, I mean, I'm not surprised it happened, just because, I mean, you hear stories all the time, even like in parking lots where you have, depending on how sometimes it's just like asphalt that creates a speed bump, for example, like those can get peeled off pretty easily, so I wasn't necessarily surprised. I think I actually said the last time we discussed this, that it's possible that they get scraped because our plows are going so fast that they're trying to clear it as quickly as possible, that they don't know it's there, or they forget about it. It's not hard to scrape it. So we're 0 for 1 on speed bumps.
No, we're 1 for 1. We had another snow.
Okay.
I want to give credit. They did figure it out the first time. They made sure that they brought it up the next snow, not to rip it off.
Is there any other
Yeah,
discussion?
1 for 2, sorry.
Yes, John.
So Mike, I have a question, so
Yes.
with.
1 second, Mike, you come up. Just
Sure.
Mike.
All right.
Mike on the mic.
Yep.
Thanks.
So if we remove the speed bump and we follow the direction of one of the residents of putting stop signs, would that corner at the bottom of the hill, would it meet the requirements for a stop sign?
There's no set requirement for either placing a stop sign there or not placing one there. So there's more to that decision. And I don't think it can be answered quite so simply. It is an option, but I think it would take more thought before.
Well, and Mike, to your point earlier about the collector street, I mean, you typically aren't gonna put stop signs on this collector street side itself unless it's gonna intersect with maybe another collector or something that's gonna warrant it, because the whole purpose of the collector street is to keep traffic moving as much as possible. And so, I mean, it'd be like putting a stop sign, on North Columbia. I mean, we do, but it's at very major intersections, right?
But are there stop signs on Plum Creek Lane there, or no?
No?
I mean, where it feeds into,
I believe it's an unmarked intersection.
unmarked, totally open.
No yield, no nothing.
Okay.
And again, for our purposes, we were requested today to provide accident data for that intersection with Lindell and East Seward Street. And since 2000, and Chief can come back up and clarify what that specifically means, the thresholds of this. But essentially since 2000, for reporting purposes, we've had 0. Now, that doesn't mean there wasn't a fender bender
Or a close call?
or a close call or something, but Chief, do you want to come up and just define that? Because again, sometimes your statistics are related to certain access points or policy points, so.
Right, we were tasked to researched the accidents in the area. We went back to the year 2000. East Seward and Lindell, we had 0 reported accidents. Highway 34 in Evergreen, we had 11. Highway 34 in Columbia, we had 19. And again, when we talk about reported accidents, there may have been an accident, but when the officer arrived, it was determined that the damage did not meet the threshold of $1,500 per vehicle. In those cases, we are, tell folks exchange names, but we don't make a state report, which is what is considered reportable. If it's an injury accident or an accident that results in death, we would automatically do it. That also makes it a reportable accident. Unfortunately, we've had none of those, except for the deer. One of those was mine, so I know. So again, for the numbers kind of speak for themselves as far as
And that's
the
since
accidents.
2000.
Since the year 2000, yes. So going back quite a ways. We basically went back as far as our current records are maintained.
Chief, is there a threshold? I know we have what we call the traffic committee. It's myself, yourself, city engineer, street superintendent, and sometimes Tim with the zoning department will sit in with us. Sometimes we get other requests for stop signs, and we sometimes, one of the bases we look at is accident reports.
Correct.
There's some threshold, in my head it's ringing the number 5, but I can't remember what we discussed as a threshold that at that point you at least want to consider and have a discussion. I don't remember if it was 5 within 5 years. You remember, and I'm going to put you on the spot if you can.
I apologize, I don't recall specifically. I think if you've got 5 over a period of certainly over a course of a year, that's worthy of serious discussion. If you're talking 5 over 5 years, that's starting to, you're averaging 1 a year. I don't know if that necessarily merits any kind of traffic control. I know typically you want to minimize the amount of traffic control as much as possible.
Any other discussion from the council? If not, please call the roll. Thank you, Chief.
Kaler? Coulterman? Miller?
Yes.
Singleton?
Yes.
Streisand?
Yes.
Tanyas? Morgan?
No.
Wilkin?
Yes.
Okay, 7 in favor, 1 against.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. Move on now to item number 3. Consideration of a voluntary annexation of part of Lot 1, Block 5, Prairie View Addition and portion of Sunflower Avenue. This is the second reading. An ordinance declaring the annexation of certain contiguous and adjacent tracts of land, urban and suburban in character, more specifically a part of Lot 1, Block 5, Prairie View Addition, and a part of Sunflower Avenue to the city of Seward, to the corporate limits of the city of Seward, Nebraska, and extending the limits thereof accordingly, to describe the real estate to be annexed and its boundaries, to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. This is the second reading. Anything else on that item? No? Okay. Item number 4, recommend Christopher C. as manager of Casey's General Store, number 2730, 2605 Progressive Road, retail Class D liquor license. Derek?
Yeah, so, when there's a change in the manager of a liquor license, we get pinged from the state to, approve the requested person. So we have received, the police department's okay, chief sent that to me, there's no issue with Christopher Seek. So basically, we just need to approve them being the manager of the Casey's General Store, and that's about it, that's submitted to the state. Pretty simple.
And part of this too is just so that the city is aware of who the manager is, so if there's ever any issue as far as enforcement, we know who the person is that we need to contact to get the issue resolved. So it is, it's kind of a notice, has a notice function as well.
Move to approve.
The motion and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Taylor.
Yes.
Coulterman.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Singleton.
Yes.
Streisand.
Yes.
Tanya.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Wilkin.
Yes.
8-0.
All right, item number 5 is update on the wellness center. Greg.
Yeah, the Wellness Center Committee continues to be incredibly busy. We worked through the design process. We're sort of deep into schematic design. The orientation of the building has kind of completely flipped with a western-facing frontage. This allows for traffic ease for pedestrian interactions coming across from the middle school, and so that's pretty settled. I believe we've finalized the areas we'll need for the platting, so you'll see that starting to come very quickly through the Wake family for the development of that. And so that will get going. But the big thing that we've undertaken is we completed the process to bring our construction management at risk firm on board. We had 7 respondents to the original RFP. They were whittled down to 3 really, really good firms. We did a stringent interview process. I want to commend Councilmember Streisand, Councilmember Miller. I know that Councilmember Coulterman didn't join us for the interviews, but she did provide her input as well. And so we've continued to work through that process. And ultimately, working through that, there was one firm that rose above the rest, both within the RFP, and then it was reconfirmed in the interview, and I think I can say that pretty safely from those that were involved in it. And so our recommendation to you is Sampson Construction. I know we have a representative from Sampson, our local rep. And so if you want to come up and just introduce yourself and just give it the brief high view of
Oh, my
kind of-
crowd left. There was more
I
people.
know.
I started to get really nervous.
Jake Kohanic, Sampson Construction, I'll be the project manager, 633 North 4th Street, so I am a resident, and I'm looking forward to being involved not only for my company, but for me being a resident of this community to do everything I need to do to bring it home and get us what we need and what we want. So.
Again, Sampson brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in this, as did the other firms. They were very experienced in building similar facilities, high schools, pools, you name it. But the level of work that Sampson has done, most recently completing Hillian Landing, which we went out and visited, and we've seen the actual in-person product that they finished. A portion of them also finished the renovation of the Beatrice YMCA, which we just recently went out and saw the final work that they completed. They just hit all the points that basically defined what we're looking for. Their team that they brought forth is the A-team, and it's the A-team at Sampson, and it's the team. So the guy that's the superintendent on their most recent relevant project that's going to be on-site building the project is the guy that's going to build our project. That you'll skate out there and stare into their eyes. And so that wealth, we felt really, really confident. I can let Matt or Carl speak to that as well, but that's ultimately how it turned out. Again, we had a lot of great firms, and it came down to a lot of work. Again, we had members of the school board, we had community members. Dave come from Concordia, who has a lot of experience in selecting construction managers with construction management risk. Prior to this, was involved in that as well. And then Evan from BVH also sat and talked us through his thoughts, and so we felt like a huge group, herd cats sometimes, but we were head and shoulders above the rest. And I don't mean to be mean about that, it's just the nature of the work that Sampson's done that matches a project of this level.
Plus, we get mad, we can just go to your house.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, it's also.
That's where it's gonna start, isn't it?
The other one is there's more Seward County residents on that team than you would have guessed.
We're excited for you to have the community here.
Well, it keeps me out of the office.
Local projects of note, they just recently finished the hospital renovation. Again, that was a very, I don't want to say invasive project, but it was right up on Columbia. We had this giant crane there for a very long time. A lot of their stuff was across the street in the parking lot. You're building in a facility that's operational the whole time. And the amount of complaints I got the city about their work was a goose egg. And that is a major project, but they're also involved in some of our basement renovations of the library and the construction of the library. They'll be on board for the next library renovation, I believe, working through the foundation. There's probably a litany of other ones that, I think they built the pool back in the day.
Yep, actually was part of the elementary addition that happened a few years ago too. Like working local, it's just a lot easier.
So just hit all the points, and we've already got started. They came out on Monday and sat in on our design meeting for 2.5 hours and already started providing the exact recommendations and value that we're looking for to start getting our project on budget and keeping the time frame moving forward. Those are our two biggest things, and that's exactly why we go through this process rather than the traditional design bid build. So that's where we're at. We can ask any questions if you have any.
Thank you.
Did you want to say?
Did I want to say that?
Yeah, or are you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I'd say, I'm just pleased with Sampson, just going, as we know that the priority of this wellness center is, as we go over the cost increase, that we were able to find somebody with the relevant experience, the recent experience and what we want, and actually having a product that we were able to go visit. As I say, the reviews I've heard from the tour at Pavilion were terrific, and that's along the lines of what the committee was looking for. So I think that, and with our previous work with BVH, I think everything's come to a good alignment, and to be in this situation is actually very good for the city.
I'm just, all I want to say is, I'm like Jake, I just want to build something.
Yep.
So, yeah, we want to quit talking about it and build it. Sorry.
And I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
You know my address now.
All right, well, with that, 5A, authorization to negotiate a contract for construction manager at risk with Sampson Construction.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Kaler,
Yes.
Coulterman,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Singleton.
Yes.
Streisand.
Here.
Thomas.
Here's Billy wants to
Yeah.
say.
I'm really ready to build.
Oregon.
Yes.
Wilkin.
Yes.
8-0.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, city administrator's report.
I have the administrator's report in front of you again, always been Wellness Center Palooza. Had some great discussions and in furtherance of our trail project. So that continues to move forward based on some of the stuff we've advised you on as of lately. Try and get that BNSF items rounded up and finished off. So I think we'll see some movement on that in short order. New water wastewater director, Brandon Cole, is just doing an incredible job down there and getting himself up to speed, jumping in on projects. We will, in April, have an update for you. The team from SEH will be here to kind of give an update on the wastewater treatment plant and the status of that, initial design and cost. I can tell you now, cost is a big issue on that one because of the nature of what's been going on as of late. So we're continuing to have some financing and other specific discussions with their team that we'll be meeting with. And I sent them some more items at the federal level that just popped up on our radar recently. So wastewater treatment plant's a big one. Water tower is out for bid. Mike is furiously working through addendum. I'm not gonna call you up, Mike, it's okay. But just, I see all the addendums and questions going back and forth and work with Olson and stuff, and so that one. The big hope on that is that we have interest and we get at least 3 good bids back to meet all 3 of the packages that went out. And so hopefully we feel pretty confident on that one. The Seward Street is under construction, will likely be closed until completed. Correct, Mike?
Correct.
So at this point, it's only open to the local residents that live upon that portion of it. Mike does a good job of communicating with them. We're still trying to work our way through. We've provided some trash service out there like we did on Waverly Road when we closed that. We've had a request for recycling, so we'll work through that issue and try to get that as well. So we'll see where we're at on that one. Other than that, just kind of keep going. A lot of personnel and other items that me and Derek have been working through, trying to finish up the handbook adjustments. We did kind of finalize a new employee and manager evaluation form and kind of got a good check off on that. And so that will come into effect April 1st, along with bringing in some of the handbook stuff. But we want to have a more in-depth review with our employees and really kind of get in deep with them, because, you know, we want them not to be surprised when there are issues, but we also want to know about their hopes and aspirations working for the city, so we can identify those things and have a real conversation with you, not just, hey, did you get your 2 trees cut down this year? Did you have your 2 trainings done? Did you not get fired this year? Okay, good, there you go, check off. We're gonna adjust it a little bit. We'll still have some of those goals and aspirational things and target items that they need to finish up each year, but we really want to have a quality sit-down discussion with them. And we're due for that. I think the system we've worked through evaluation is 30 years old, at least 30 years old. So we're ready for a new one. I can answer any other questions you have, or if there's anything you see in there.
Any questions for Rick? Otherwise, entertain a motion to accept the report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Kaler.
Yes.
Colterman.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Singleton.
Yes.
Streisand.
Yes.
Tanyas.
Yes.
Horgan.
Yes.
Fulton.
Yes.
8-0.
Do you have any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action? Yes, John.
We brought it up before, I requested, and hopefully it gets on the next agenda, if there gets, if there's room, about potentially raising the fee dump for trees to contractors.
Yep. We have a meeting set for Friday. Mindy did all the research on that, and she's been in Jamaica for a week.
Oh, well, that ain't fair.
Yeah, and so she comes back, so we're scheduled to meet with Bob, myself, and Derek on Friday, and we anticipate we'll at least have something for you at the next meeting.
I just want it for contractors, I don't want no interruptions for residential.
Yep.
Just contractors, I think they're used in this.
Yep, we'll try to we did that survey, and she has all that data, and so we'll round that up and then try to make some sort of potential recommendation along those lines, at least as a starting point for discussion.
Any other requests? Seeing none. Upcoming events? Jonathan, you made it.
I snuck in. We sent out our quarterly president and CEO report, and that was on your consent agenda tonight. For our new council member, did you get it? That was the big question. So please let us know if you have any specific questions as you work your way through that. We want to make sure we're accountable to our work. Last night, we received funding support from the Village of Utica through their LB 840 Economic Development Fund for our Rural Workforce Housing Fund, and where I was at earlier tonight was with the City of Milford. And so far we've raised $289,500 now towards our $500,000 goal. So we're trying to get to that $500,000 to create $1.5 million for the Rural Workforce Housing Fund. So if you know anybody that may be interested in contributing to the cause, of course, we would welcome them to have a conversation. A number of exciting things in March. Tuesday, partnership with Concordia, their Catalyst competition. There's a mentor night at Bottle Rocket Brewery. Sports students working on their business plans this semester. Any of you are business professionals and would like to be mentors for the students, we'd welcome you to join us. We have a broadband task force. Appreciate Mike and others that have been contributing to that. And we're pursuing funds through the Nebraska Capital Projects Fund to build additional broadband connectivity in the rural parts of the county that internet's rough. And so, again, that's on the 15th at 10 if someone would like to join us for that. Thursday, March 16th, we have our Communities for Kids provider training at 6 p.m. at the Extension Office for our local child care service providers, food, networking, continuing education credits for them, and please spread that word. And then Monday, March 20th, there's the 55th Annual Seward County Ag Recognition Banquet, 5:30 social hour, 6:30 prime rib dinner, presentation of Ag Awards. We do our Agribusiness Award each year for that.
So when is that, Jonathan?
So Monday, March 20th is 5:30 is when it starts, social hour, and we'll be at the Ag Pavilion like normal. We'd love to see many city representatives there. Wednesday, March 22nd, we have ambassador ribbon cutting with our friends at Pizza Kitchen in downtown Milford. Roger said he'd make some pizzas, so if you'd like to join us in carpool, we'd love to have you. And then lastly, we have a business after hours on Friday, March 24th at Bottle Rocket, 3 to 5. The topic will be STEP grants, so to support local businesses that are looking to start to export out of our country. So there's some funds through the state, and we're wanting to try to promote more products in Seward County that are sold out of the country, so we can bring new money into our community. So with that, that's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
All right,
When's
thanks.
cleanup?
Jonathan, yes.
When's cleanup?
Oh, cleanup day, yes, April 15th, coming up, thank you for mentioning that. And we'll be getting promotional items out for that very, very soon.
The other one too is, maybe something for thinking about is higher cleanup sewer.
Yes, we are working, thank you for mentioning that. We're working with Terry Wicks, County Road Superintendent. We're working on a grant for that for next year. So, yeah,
It's
thank
been
you.
brought up at our waste discussion.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Taylor. Holterman. Miller. Yes. Singleton.
Yes.
Streisand. Yes. Tanya.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Wilkin.
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you all for being here this evening and participating. Have a good night.
Partner with us. A lot of work. Thank you.
Design it.